One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only podcast dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of investment banking. My name is Alex Mason and I'm your host, and this is episode 100. Welcome to the show. I'm so grateful that you're here, and oh man, we made it to 100. We made it to 100 episodes. This podcast was launched in May of 2023. I am sitting here recording this right now in July of 2023. Only 2 months have passed and we're already hitting 100 episodes. I am so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for you listening here. And today's episode is a little bit different than our typical episodes. Usually we have a little bit of a bite-sized nugget or concept that we're trying to learn, specifically the technicals. But I want to just look backward really quick, zoom out real quick, and cover what we've learned so far. If you've been following since episode 1, working your way all the way up to this episode today, let's take a step back and see where we've been. And also, I want to give you a preview of where I plan to go with this show next in the coming months, because there's some exciting topics that we're going to cover. So what we did at the very beginning, the first several episodes were dedicated specifically to general knowledge of investment banking. What is investment banking? What does the industry look like? How does recruiting work? All of those general types of questions, we covered those things. And I hope that gave you a good sense of the lay of the land if you're unfamiliar with how this whole side of the business works. And then we jumped into the fundamentals, just the absolute basics of finance, really. Understanding what accounting rules are, what are the basic principles that we should use. And then going into the 3 different financial statements. We spent a lot of time doing nothing but understanding the 3 different financial statements, what the different components of them are, and then we built upon that knowledge and looked at how they connected to each other. And this information, I'm really glad that we did that, because for me, it really helped me to do that foundational stuff first before going into some of the more specific kind of interview questions relating to accounting, because a lot of that knowledge overlaps and it builds on itself. So that's what we did for several episodes. Next, we jumped into accounting. We did a lot of basics in accounting, and we took a break from accounting for a little bit, looked at enterprise value and equity value, right? What is a business really worth? What's the difference between enterprise and equity value? And 3 different major valuation methodologies. We went into valuation, and then we went back to accounting because there were just so many accounting related questions. I wanted to take a break for a while, but we went back to it and covered some more basics there, covering different scenarios about different transactions a company could make, how they affect the financial statements. That's kind of the bread and butter of those accounting basic level questions. And then we moved on to our current section, which is discounted cash flow analysis, which is one of the 3 major valuation methodologies. We've been learning a lot about the various ins and outs of DCFs, and it's a big topic. There's a lot to learn there, but I think we've been doing a great job at kind of breaking it down and just learning things one by one, step by step. And so that kind of has brought us to today, to episode 100. So now you might be wondering, okay, Alex, where are we going next? What's next? What are the things that we're going to learn? Well, we're going to round out discounted cash flow analysis, all the basics there, and we're most of the way through those concepts. Do have several more for you coming up that I have planned. But beyond that, what are some other topics we're going to get into? Well, next we're going to cover mergers and acquisitions. This, of course, if you plan on going into banking, doing any type of M&A, like this is your bread and butter, right? Mergers and acquisitions, what actually happens when two companies combine into one? What happens when a larger company acquires a smaller one? How do you account for that? What are the different scenarios that can happen? What are the ways that you can think about the math of the earnings, and is it accretive? Is it dilutive? All these different concepts that we haven't covered yet in detail, we're going to go through those things. So that's going to be next after discounted cash flow. After mergers and acquisitions, we're going to talk about the basics of leveraged buyouts, LBOs. Now, LBOs are typically seen as maybe a little bit more of an advanced topic or a niche topic for investment banking recruiting, but those questions are still asked. I think that a lot of banks don't necessarily expect you to know a lot about LBOs, but they do expect you to know what they are and some basics about them. So we're going to be going over leveraged buyouts. Then that's going to take us probably through the next month or two. So probably the end of August, I would say, August 2023, when we kind of get through those topics. Okay, at that point, we will have covered a ton of fundamental, basic, technical questions. And then we're going to go back. The best way to learn knowledge is to continue to revise and build on what you already know. So what we're going to do after that is we're going to go advanced, folks. We're going to go into some more questions in topics that we've already covered, but these questions are going to be harder. They're going to build on the foundational knowledge on accounting. They're going to build on the foundational knowledge on discounted cash flow, mergers and acquisitions. So we're going to go back through these topics that we've already gone through, but just with more questions that are a little bit more at a higher level. And now we're really going to have some fun and test our understanding. And boy, if we get through all these, I shouldn't say if, because it's not even a question of if, it's when we get through all these questions, it is going to be so amazing because we will have learned so much at that point. So stay tuned, keep listening for those. So that's kind of the plan for this next, I would say 6 weeks or so, is rounding out all the basic level questions, technical questions, and then we're going to go back through the advanced questions. And then I think at that point, I'm going to focus more on behaviorals because the technicals, that's kind of table stakes. If you don't have your technicals down, then, banks are going to filter you out of their recruiting process, just point blank. So we all have to know those. That's why I chose to center this podcast around technicals so heavily over these first few months that I've been recording, because it's just that important. And then we're going to get into behaviorals. Behaviorals, I think, often get neglected in this process because it's easy to focus on objective stuff, right? Like studying for any test in college or grad school, like, oh, what's the answer? All right, X plus Y equals Z, and then that's it. Well, behaviorals are much more nuanced, and we're going to talk about how to talk about your story, things that you might be asked in an interview that are more behaviorally related. So stay tuned for that. That's probably going to be more in September when we get to those. And that's what I've got mapped out so far for the future. But just wanted to give you a heads up about where we're going, where we're headed. Again, so grateful for you listening. The response to this podcast has been really humbling. I am like, wow, like the download numbers just keep going up and up and up. And I have you to thank for that. The show, it wouldn't be what it is without you listening, without you messaging, telling me your support. I really appreciate all the messages that you guys have been sending me, and I hope that I've been helping you on your journey. So we're not done. We're not finished. We're just getting started. Episode 100. So get ready for episode 101. We're going to get right back into these technicals with discounted cash flows, and we're going to look at the relationship between debt and cost of equity. So jumping right back into that. So join me next time on Investment Banking Insights. This is Alex Mason. I am your host. and I'll see you for the next 100 episodes. Take care.